So what a compound interest is, when you're earning interest on the money that you put in the account, as well as the interest that you're earning on that money. Okay, so there's two different kinds of interest that you can get from a bank. Okay, so you can get simple interest, and then you can get compound interest. Okay, so the simple interest is an interest where you just put the money in, and then let's say you have $1,000, you put it in the bank, and they tell you that I'm going to give you 10% simple interest, right? So that means they give you $100 every year, and it's going to be $100 every year until you take the money out. Okay, it's not going to change. Every year they put $100 in the account. Okay. Now with a compound interest, it's a little different. So let's say you have that $1,000, you put it in the account, but they tell you that it's compounded annually, let's say, at 10%. Okay? So the first year they're going to give you the $100 because 10% of 1,000 is $100, right? So how much in the account you have right now? You started with 1,000 and they gave you 100. How much money?
100.
$1,100, right? Now what happens if for the next year, because it's compounded, then they're going to have to give you interest on the 1,100. Okay? So the money right now that you have in the account is not 1,000 anymore. So first 1,000, right? Then it became 1,100. Now they're going to give you interest on the 1,100. Okay? So it's going to be 1,210 because they're going to give you $110, right? And then the year after that, they're going to have to give you interest on this one, right? The year after that, they're going to give you the interest on the interest and the principal as well. Okay? Well, in the simple interest, you start with 1,000. They give you 100 every year, and you're going to keep collecting the 100. Okay? Well, in this case, you're going to get I don't know.
Every time it increased from in the previous one.
That's right. So this one is going to be 140. I think it's going to be this much, right? So you see that every time. Sorry, this is 0, 0. You see that there's going to be difference between the two, right? Which one is the better? If the bank is giving you the money, which one is better?
Between the money
The compound, right? If you're paying interest, which one is better? Simple interest, right? Because then you're paying less money instead of compound. Right? But most of the time, if you're looking at, let's say, Visa or whatever, it's compounded interest. And then a lot of times it's not yearly compounded, it's either monthly or daily compound, which is worse. Okay? The more that this is annually, right? So once a year, right? If you're talking about compounded daily, yeah, you don't want to know. Okay. So when we're talking about this, so the terminology is very important, right? So you have the compound interest is calculated using the principal and its previously accumulated interest. I just talked about that. Principal, it's how much money you put in the account, so that's your initial amount that you're gonna put in. The rate, that's the percentage, right, that you're compounding at. So 3%, 10%, 5%, 6%, whatever. And then the term, it's how long it's gonna you're gonna borrow or invest that money. Okay? So the formulas are the following. So these are the formulas. They're exactly the same formula, but one uses A as the amount, and one uses FV as the future value. FV and A, they represent the same thing. Okay? So A is the future value or the amount that you're gonna have in the future in your bank. Right? P is your principal, so how much money you have right now. It's the same thing as saying PV, which is your present value right now. Okay? And then 1 plus I to the power of n. So you're gonna write this. So A or the FV. So it's the final amount or the future value. I is the interest rate per compounding period. I is never in percentage. I is always in decimal. We're gonna talk more about I because you're gonna have to calculate that I. It's not always the same as when the question gives it to you. P, or you can also call it as PV, which is your present value, so how much you put it in the account right now, or how much you borrow right now. And N is the total number of compounding periods. So this is how many times, like, how many times are you gonna earn that interest? Are you guys okay with that? Now, I, which is the interest rate, right? And when it says compounded, we have to kind of calculate that I with respect to the compounding period. Okay? So let's say if they tell you that your interest rate is 5% per annual, compounded monthly. Okay? That's an example. Now, because you're compounding monthly, that 5%, you're not going to get that 5% every month. You're going to get that 5% for the whole year, but split into monthly. Okay? So, what we have to do in order to find our I, we need to divide that 5%
By 12?
by 12.
Okay.
Because that 5% is going to be for the whole year. But then we're going to do the payment, or we're going to do the interest monthly. So we're going to have to divide it monthly. Okay? So this is where we get that formula right here. Which is I equal to the rate divided by big N. And big N represents the number of times interest is paid per year. So big N is, we're going to talk about it. It depends if it's annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, bi-weekly, right? It all depends about that. Okay? And R is your rate. So let's say 5%, which is 0.05. That represents R. Okay? And in this case, so I'm gonna go back here for a second.
So we will choose only one.
So for this one, in order to find I is equal to 0.05 because that's your 5% divided by 12 because you have the month. Because you have 12 months per year. Okay? That becomes your I that you're gonna plug into this formula. Make sense? Or this one? Okay. So when you're compounding annually, which means once a year, right? So your big N is 1. Okay? So you can divide by 1 or you can leave it as is, it doesn't matter. Because that number is not going to change. Now when we go to semi-annually, how many times a year is that? 2 times a year, so you have to divide by 2.
Every 6 months?
Every 6 months, but don't think about it this way. Think about it as twice a year, so I have to divide by 2. Because I don't want you to mix up with the 6.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Quarterly, 4 times a year. Right? 4 times a year, that means I have to divide my interest by 4. Monthly, you have 12 months per year, so that's why you get the 12. Now, bi-weekly. Bi-weekly is what?
Every 2 weeks? No, every 1 week.
15 days.
No,
6. Oh.
every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. So, think about it this way. Bi-weekly, so that's every 2 weeks. How many weeks do I have per year?
4 months.
How many weeks do I have per year?
52.
52. So 52 divide by 2 because I have bi-weekly. That gives me 26. That's why bi-weekly is 26. Okay? You have to think not every month have 4 weeks. And not every month have 30 days. right? So you can't just assume that a month is 4 weeks.
Yeah, like
Some months have 5, some months have 4.5, right? So we can't assume. So that's why we have to use how many weeks we have and divide that by 2 to get the bi-weekly payment. Okay? Weekly, that's 52, because we have 52 weeks a year. And then daily is divided by 365 days a year. Are you guys okay with this?
Weekly means every week, right?
That's right.
Bi-weekly every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. And most of your pays, so when you go and to a job, right, and you have a job, they pay you bi-weekly, right? So they have to pay you 26 times a year.
They pay me 52 times a week.
They pay you weekly?
Yeah, weekly.
Okay. Usually it's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly. These are the things.
But I look at it before I start crying.
Okay. Now, so we know that for the I, we have to divide the I by big N. Okay, to find the I, we have to divide the rate by the compounding period. Now, for the N, which is this, right here, the N, okay? To find how many payments, how many times you're gonna get it, you have to multiply the number of years by the compounding period, okay? So let's say if I have this 5% compounded monthly for 3 years, right? For 3 years. In order to find how many times am I getting that, I have to multiply my 3 years by 12 to find the N. Okay, I can't put 3 years here because I'm getting my interest every month, right? So I have to change it into the monthly number. 3 years in month is 3 times 12. Are you guys okay with this?
No?
No?
Can you repeat it, please?
Yes, I can. So, if you're doing the compounding monthly, right? For 3 years. Okay? My interest is monthly.
Okay.
So I have to know that that N here has to match. It has to be in month. Right? I can't plug in 3 because that's in years.
Alright.
So I have to multiply 3 years by 12, right? To get 36. And that would be 36 months, right? Then I can plug in that 36 in for now.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if it's bi-weekly, then you multiply that 3 years by the 26.
Okay.
Now, if the question already gives it to you in month, you don't have to do anything for that portion. Because it's already given it to you in month. Why would you have to bother? Okay? The units here is what's important. Okay? Where Y is the number of years. You guys okay with that? Sorry, I have to go this so I can hide the answer. Okay, determine the value of PNI in the formula. Okay, so Mary invested $500 for 5 years at 8% compounded semi. So what's the value of P?
500.
500, so 8
That's right.
to 500.
No, all what you have to do right now is write P equals 500.
Oh, okay.
They're not asking you to plug it in, they just want you to find the value. What's N?
5 years? 5 divided by 2. Oh, 5 divided by, yeah.
No,
No.
it's
5 years.
annually,
Divided by two.
so
0.0.
it's
60
semi-annually.
divided by
No, it's a semi-annually. It means it's 2
0.04.
divided by.
Okay, remember that we said N is your big N, which is the compounding period, times how many years you have.
10.
Times. We're not dividing. I don't know where you guys are getting the division from. So, what's my compounding period? I'm doing semi-annual.
5.
So how many times a year is that?
Semi-annually, it's 2.
2. How many years do I have?
5.
So that's multiplied by 5.
Oh.
So that is
10.
10. So my small n is 10.
Division becomes to say
The division is for the interest rate. Remember, I have n is big N times y, and then for the interest, it's the rate divided by the compounding period. What would my I be? What would the I be?
I is
We
the.
have to divide by 0.08, which is 85% divided by 2.
Yeah. So 0.08 divided by 2. Now, why do I say leave action is because it will give you more accurate answers if you leave it in fraction, right? If you're gonna put it in decimal, you're gonna have to put the whole or a lot of the numbers in, right?
So leaves as fraction.
Yeah. Now think before you answer. Raymond borrowed $300 for 3 years at 5% compounded quarterly. What's the value of P?
300.
Okay. What's N?
P
So,
is in.
we have to divide, we have to multiply
4 multiplied with
3.
5.
Quarterly.
Oh,
Quarterly is
4
4.
multiplied with 3.
4 multiplied by 3, which is 12. And then what would I be?
0.05
Over?
4.
Over 4. Because quarterly is 4.
Yeah, quarterly is 4.
Why don't you guys try